anyone can have an idea. Ideas are cheap. Ideas are only the starting point. Do not get attached to your idea. Think of it as the entree when you're starting a meal. That's all it is. It's your opening line. This was one of the concepts that we tested in my team. We were looking at the process of what happens when you crash a car. When you've been in an accident, the process of trying to figure out the damage, how much it costs, what to do. Most people's least favorite experience is to talk to their insurance company. Can I get a show of hands? If you have been in a car accident or a motorcycle accident, can I get you to put your hand up? Not that many. Very surprising. Okay. Can I get you to put your hand up if you've ever had to talk to your insurance company? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Okay, about 10 people in the audience. Can I get you to put your hand up if you enjoyed that experience? Thank you guys. That was problem validation. No one put their hand up. So they said, okay, we know the company that's funding us has a problem. Let's solve one of their problems first. And so we looked at image recognition and how we could use computer vision along with deep learning. That as a customer, if I was in an accident, I could take a photo, submit it online or via Messenger, and get instant damage assessment on what's damaged and how much will it cost to repair. And what we learned was, yes, one, customers didn't like speaking to their insurance company. Number 2, there was strong support for the solution that we put in front of them. But number 3, and this seems like a really small thing, but it's actually a very, very big thing, which is people still didn't trust it. They said, I like it's fast, it's too fast. And you have to keep the human and the customer at the center of what you do. And so that insight led to us taking the experience in very different directions. And that led to us doing little things as well, like, so actually computers can figure this out really, really quickly, but we delayed the chatbot so that we programmed in delays to response, so it gave the impression of thinking time. And that was enough to build people's confidence. So the customer insights that you get are sometimes big, and they're sometimes that small. But that's all an important part of understanding who are you designing for, what do they need from your business, and how do you turn that insight into a practical design or business model decision. Lesson number 2. Now, I've personally really struggled with this lesson. As small, as minimum, as fast as possible. I struggle with this because sometimes people equate that to time, and it's not always time. For example, when I was building a proposition for people who participate in economies like freelancer.com, the concept was really straightforward. We could launch a website, a prototype, to pre-register customers in 1 week. And so we did that, and we got about 5,000 sign-ups. The work that we've done in other spaces are technically very complex, and we don't know if it's actually feasible. And for those projects, you actually need to give it time. So we spent 4 months building a technical proof of concept to figure out whether or not something was possible. That is why I find this a challenge, because it relies on your executives understanding the difference in complexity on the different ideas that you have, and giving you sufficient air and sufficient breathing space to explore. But at the end of the day, if you are not producing viable businesses, your innovation program will die. That is on your shoulders to navigate that landscape. Use open source, use existing tools, build what you need to learn. Don't be ever shy to ask for help. You can do amazing things. Don't do this. Singapore is very good at this. I live in Singapore. I've been living in Singapore for 3 years. They have some of the most beautiful innovation labs, most beautiful innovation centers. They won't mind. I say this to the Economic Development Board. It's fine. I say this to the Monetary Authority of Singapore. I think Matt has spent a lot of time here. And he said, oh yeah, I did nothing there. This is what my world looks like. This is what your world should look like. Desks, dreams, focusing on building for your customers, focusing on solving problems that matter. I find traffic really interesting. I actually love flying into new cities at night when there's no clouds. I love looking down and I like seeing all the lights along all the roads. It's like arteries. You can see the ecosystem of a city by the structure of its roads and its traffic. 8 a.m. in the morning when I'm in a car in this, it's no longer beautiful, it's no longer magical, it's just frustrating. So this was one of the first challenges that we looked to solve. I work for an insurance company. That means understanding that we know where accidents happen, but we've never really looked to use that information to create services that are good for the public. So this was one of our very first big, noble causes. We wanted to create safer urban environments, starting with Singapore and Australia, because that is our home turf, using big data and analytics to completely transform the traffic engineering world. And this is where industries start to collide. We take insurance knowledge and apply it to town planning, and we take traffic engineering techniques and apply it to insurance. And this is where boundless creativity happens, because we are looking at things from a completely different lens. Now, I don't know where this will go. The business has just launched, but there is an amazing depth of capability here. And one thing that I've noticed I haven't heard you speaking that much about, but I feel it in all of you, is your purpose. Be really true to your purpose and your noble purpose, and be really true to always keeping customers and humanity at the center. It's too easy to get enticed by technology and enticed by ideas. Stay true to believing in the strength of your people and the problems that you are solving for citizens, for your communities, for your country. And when you're doing that, find really good partners. I have a web of partners that we work with, because whilst we want the innovation muscle in our organization, we are humble enough to admit and acknowledge that as many amazing people as we have in our organization, the world is bigger than us, and there are brains and experiences beyond what we can imagine. That when we work with universities and startups, that is where the magic really starts to happen. This is one of the companies that we partner with. They're a startup based in the United States of America. They're a beautiful team. They're very good technically, but even better, they have the same way of working, the same philosophy, the same mindset. And when you're selecting your partners, Again, don't get enticed by their technical brilliance. Look at the full package of who they are, their ways of working, because at the end of the day, the success of your program hinges on your people, and the success of your partnership hinges on your people and your business cadences working together. So I'm going to wrap up there. You've been a wonderful audience for the presentation. I hope it's inspired a lot of thoughts. I think we're now going to go into the Q&A panel. I'm so delighted to be here. You are a truly magnificent audience.
Waduh. Saya tidak menyesal Pak Dedi masih di sini. Ternyata lesson nomor 4 partnership Pak Dedi. So we have the lead of strategic partnership. So your lesson 4, I give it to him, Pak Dedi. Please be prepared. I will bring a lot of partnerships to you to be processed.
I was noticing the nodding head as I was speaking. I was like, oh, that's good, that's good.
Yeah, he's happy because that's the fourth critical point for the development innovations. And I like it, Pak Arif. I mean, this is it's not time, yeah? It's not necessarily time. We need to revisit our policy on Amuba timing, validation timing, because it's the customer, it's not the innovation. It's the customer that has to be the main focus. It's not the innovation processes, it's not the innovation funding and the founder itself, but the customer is number one. This is a very, very great insight for us. And deal chat ada nggak teman-teman deal chat? Ada yang di sini nggak atau di booth semua? Wah, itu Tam, keren Tam tadi. Itu deal chatnya buat ini insurance. This is a chatbot Amuba team. So I said that this one is quite interesting because you can send pictures, right? So but the point is customers what they need at this point. Okay, let's start Q&A. But before, I have a lot of not a lot. I mean, 5 questions previously for Lynn.
Oh.
First, about Firemarks or IAG itself. There's one Amuba that asked basically which product types or industries are the toughest for IAG to approve to invest in, but you still do invest in. So pertanyaannya, apa sih yang paling sulit di-approve untuk sama IAG, tapi at the end of the day tetap harus di-approve? What type of products and what type of industry?
What type is hardest, or what do we do?
Sorry?
So is the question, what type of areas are hardest for us to enter and do anyway?
It's hardest for you to decide that we want to invest in that.
Oh, that's a complex question. There is not a straight answer to that. I think the thing that's been really important that has really helped figure out where we are willing to invest is when we first started, we said for the first 6 to 7 months, anything was okay. And every idea was treated on its own merits. We said, okay, we just need to learn, we need to build this muscle. Now what happened from doing that is when you're working on an idea that is good by itself in isolation, but doesn't make sense in an organizational context, it's very, very difficult to ever scale. It's very, very difficult to get support. And so an example of this is, probably actually the best example is cybersecurity. So, and this I think resonates for a telco as well, which is we know that cyber security is really important. We know that small businesses are not well prepared for cyber attacks. We know attacks like WannaCry are actually engineered to target the small businesses that don't realize how valuable they actually are. Meanwhile, the small business says, why would someone target me? So at face value, it seems like a very sensible decision for us to be focusing on this area. Now, no one inside the business had an interest in cyber. There was no one inside the business that was responsible for that portfolio. And so it meant that even though we had an idea that was small, that solved a meaningful problem, we couldn't get carriage. And that has been a really important lesson for us, to then come up and say, we need to know what our strategic priorities are, and we need to know the areas of interest for the business, because that is how we create the momentum. And so rather than taking a lens of this industry or not that industry, we take a lens of what is the future of work, what is the future of shelter, so home, and what is the future of mobility. So trying to get people and goods from A to B. Those are the three ecosystems we play in. And then we have needs of customers within there that we prioritize as a business. And so now when ideas are put forward, we have to be able to show the relationship to the ecosystems that we have strategically chosen to play in. And that is what is now fostering the momentum that otherwise a really good idea was a little island that wasn't able to build carriage and therefore impact the customers or the business.
Okay.
That was a long answer, sorry.
No
Complex
worries.
question.
But interesting, we haven't started discussing it yet, Pak Arif, about cybersecurity, right? I think that's, if